Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak, and on the line we have a very special guest.
Hey guys, my name is Luis Munoz, also known as Modern Guitar Tech.
That's right. He's out in Los Angeles, California. Yep, West Coast coming through right now. I can say that because I grew up there. I would feel weird about doing like East Coast coming through right now. I'm not exactly East Coast. Anyhow, we are super excited because Luis is joining us today, and he is he's a guy that I found on through Instagram. Again, shocker. Sorry, everybody. I'm gonna keep saying that.
Well, that's where everybody's at right now.
That's where to be. If you want me to find you, be on Instagram.
That's right.
And if you want me to find you and I'm not finding you, you can always just drop me a line.
That's right.
Via the website. You can direct message me on Instagram, or I guess really, an email via the site. That's cool too. Todd@theguitarknobs.com, and I'll get back to you. I promise. I've been exchanging a couple emails with a couple of really great chaps from around the world. So we got a fella from down in Australia, Scott Phillips, and he and I have been talking recently over the internets, and he's suggested quite a few really great topics, and I'm excited about him, and we're going to get to him pretty soon after these episodes that we record in the near future. So much appreciated, Scott, and anybody else that wants to chat with us, send us a line. So we have Luis Munoz on the show, and he is known as the Modern Guitar Tech, and I thought it would be really cool to have him on because the idea of a guitar tech, it takes many forms, and I think it's one of those things that we put a lot of baggage on what a guitar tech may or may not be, and so I just wanted to be able to hear it from his perspective, and I think he's approaching it, at least from what I've seen online, from a new point of view. He's providing some material and ways to connect with people that maybe might be a new way of getting to know a guitar tech. So that's why he's on the show. So we're going to hear a little bit about him and what he's doing out in LA and who he's doing it for in just a little bit. Moving forward, let's talk about what's going on in our guitar worlds. This is my favorite day of the week. I love this.
Yes.
I love recording
Thursday?
day. Well, whatever day we're recording the episode, really.
Podcast day.
Podcast day.
Followed by pizza.
Yeah, followed by editing day. Jared.
Oh, man. So, a couple of guitar shows under my belt since the last podcast. And I picked up a really cool volume pedal. And when you go back and forth, like on a normal, volume pedal.
Rocking it, you mean?
Rocking it. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Well, the reason I'm drawing the distinction.
Right, you're right. Now, instead of rocking, you can twist the top black part, the surface of the pedal, and it changes the tone. It's an old Fender volume/tone pedal from the 60s.
Right on.
It's
from the
huge.
mid-60s. Yeah, the thing's huge, and I love it, man, because I got a size 14 shoe. So it's like anybody else on a wah, on a normal size wah pedal. This thing's bigger than that. So it's nice big honking thing. I don't use the tone that much, but
it is pretty cool though. I mean,
yeah.
So let's describe. So you're rocking like a standard volume pedal, and then if you swing your foot to the right or to the left, and I guess it's really sliding. If you slide, the entire top of the pedal kind of shifts over.
Yeah, you twist.
And it goes, it's almost like a treble cut.
It pivots.
Yeah, a treble boost or a treble cut.
It's more of a cut, because if it's all the way right, it's like having your tone knob all the way up.
Yeah.
And if
but I
you
mean,
go
if
all the way
it's
left,
center,
it's
if it's dead center, you're at like standard, whatever your amp is set at.
Actually, I don't think so. I think if it's all the way to the right, then that's standard. That's from now. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like to me.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Where's standard though? Is standard all the way to 10, or is standard in the middle? Where's standard at? Anyway, to avoid that big long conversation, let me tell you, if you were going to receive Billy Gibbons' guitar collection, you would want this pedal, because he only uses a volume pedal. That's it. So that's one of the things that I'm pretty excited about that I have now. I also got back a guitar from the shop that was sprayed in sparkle. It is a Fender, and you've seen it too, right?
I have.
That's
they
right.
are. And,
Super
in the
sparkle,
most
man.
lovingest way, I'm going to say these things look ridiculous.
Yes, and they do, but to me, I'm in love with them, man. I love a gaudy, mega super sparkle body on a guitar.
Go ahead.
That is so funny. I have a thing for sparkles. Like, my God, dude.
Know,
like,
it's like I'm a fish, man. I just want to grab it. Like fish. It's like fish bait to me. It draws me to it. It's a thin line. So I had an American body. I had Lay's Guitar Repair up in Dayton, Ohio, hollow this thing out because somebody had just chopped it up, and they put a nice cap on it on the top, and it's 6.1 pounds with all the gear on it.
It's
with
maybe
everything.
the lightest guitar I've ever held.
Yeah. I mean, it's got 2 wide range pickups in it too. I mean, real ones, the ones with the ones that I build. It's just a fantastic guitar. Super light.
It sounds awesome.
Awesome.
And I'm not a fan of thin lines per se.
Yeah, so I'm really impressed with this thing.
I like a little heft to my guitar. That's all.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I play it relatively low, so you don't need. It's hard to have a really light guitar flopping around all low.
Like Rob Trujillo low, or like
no, that's also ridiculous. No disrespect to Robert Trujillo, because he's a badass bass player, not for sure. Yeah. But I'm low, just slung, like low at the hip, like think Keith or think Johnny Thunders,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cool, man. Well, I've seen these guitars, and the sparkle ones you got, I like some sparkle, and I'm glad that you love them.
I think you're more of a subtle sparkle guy.
Yeah.
Where this is like disco ball. It just sparkles everywhere.
It's out there.
It's gaudy, and I love it.
I'm glad that you do. That's exciting. All right, Luis, hit us. What's going on in your music world this week?
Well, in my world, I just worked on this interesting project for one of my clients. He's one of these guys. This is like the third one that he's brought over, but it was a Chinese Gibson Explorer. They're known around the internet as Chibsons. So for anyone who's out there who's like, you see these on like Alibaba and AliExpress and eBay, God knows, I don't know where else. And they're cheap. They're like $300 for like a fake Gibson. They even say Gibson, like made in the USA in the back, and they come with like the certificate and all that stuff.
Right.
It's interesting to see. So they're not built to spec. They're not built to Gibson spec or Fender spec or whatever. So a lot of people think, oh, cool, I'm just gonna buy one, and then I'm just gonna swap out all the hardware, for like American-made hardware and pickups and all that stuff, and it never works. Like, it never fits properly. So there was so much involved. Like, I mean, this was pretty much like a rebuild, you know, like I had to re-radius the neck or the fretboard, new frets, dowel the old holes where I removed the bridge and the tailpiece, plugged them, re-drilled them, everything. And then it's funny because like their intonation point is always slightly off. So yeah, I mean, it was a whole bunch of work. I wish I could play it, but he's left-handed. So I set it up as best as I thought it could play it. But I wish I could really dig in. That's kind of one of my favorite parts when doing a setup, like the final steps is like really just sitting down with the guitar. And
Sure.
just digging in and you know, just doing like little tweaks and stuff, man. Devil's in the details. But yeah, he came, picked it up. He was stoked. It's funny, just chipsins, man. They're a thing now, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I can see those a mile away because of the way they look, and
Yeah.
You know, I've looked at Gibson headstocks and Gibsons all my life for years, so I know right away. But there's a lot of people out there that genuinely cannot tell the difference. They get fooled sometimes and get taken advantage of, and in my opinion, I think chipsins are kind of a nuisance because people are always asking, hey, is this thing real? Is this thing fake? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And there's a couple of people out there that say, hey man, these are hit or miss, and sometimes you get a decent one, sometimes you don't. I'm not a roll the dice type of guy, you know, myself, but
I don't know. Some of the sparkle choices you've been making is pretty much rolling of like giant dice.
right, no. That's your opinion. And I know what the sparkle's going on.
Yeah.
So it's attracting you to a nicer guitar that I, you know, not a Chipson.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So it's,
But let's be clear about something real quick, because I think if you have a Gibson, okay, and we're talking specifically about the counterfeit Gibsons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is different than saying, hey, I've got a Epiphone, I got a Korean Epiphone, or I've got, you know, and something like that. Where it's not. I just don't want there to be confusion about that, because I think some of those, like I've got two of them, super well, like they're great. I love them.
the Epiphones.
Yeah,
Of course.
but for
a
for
great
any
guitar.
listeners that maybe aren't as savvy to like, wait a minute, what exactly is that? What's the difference? I've got an Asian built, Les Paul. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, the Epiphones are licensed by Gibson.
Right.
They are authorized models.
Right.
And they're of decent quality.
Yeah.
They're good instruments. The Chipsons are not. They're
knockoffs meant to be
they're
knockoffs.
They're
Yeah.
intrusive in my personal opinion. I think they're intrusive. But that's just me, and I can't control what people
I mean,
buy.
at that point, it's almost like with the amount of work you had to do, holy moly. I mean,
he was, yeah. I mean, he was like almost at the end of the day with parts and my labor. I mean, he's like about 1,800 anyways,
Wow.
you know. But the thing with him is that he's left-handed and
harder to find.
Yeah. So he likes these like obscure, like that one model that like Eddie Van Halen played on this one album for like one song,
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah.
blah, this and that, so stuff like that. So
I
guess
feel for him, man.
yeah.
I understand now that when you said that, I want to give him some sympathy here.
Yeah.
And now I understand why he would do it. It could still be worth it for him, and that's cool.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, the one obscure models. One of my favorite podcasts, the Guitar Nerds, we're having a discussion about why so many licensed or signature model guitars are not the ones that are actually like that people are known for. They're like these really obscure ones. Like they played it on one album or they played it at one big concert or something like that. And the only exception I take to that is the Supernova, the Union Jack from Noel Gallagher, because that thing rules. Okay, he only played it at one show.
Right.
Anyways, okay, cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. For me, I just finished my Mammoth Electronics Muff Pi Op Amp Fuzz build, and I'm just mega stoked on it. I had the concept for what it looks like, and pedals are like wine bottles and stuff. It's like you judge them. You can't if you're shopping for that, you can't know what it's like. You have to say like, that looks like it tastes good.
The one
that is me. Oh my god, with the whole wine thing.
Yeah, right.
This one that you just made is really cool though.
Well, thank you.
And tell us one of the major things that's cool about it.
Well, I called it the Major Tom Fuzz. Woo. Just because Jared's extremely proud of himself for that one, just so everybody knows. I called it the Major Tom Fuzz because I recently visited the Air Force Museum here in Dayton, and we were at the space area, and it just made me think a lot about the idea of being disconnected. I mean, Major Tom from David Bowie, your circuit's dead. Is there something wrong? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Yeah. Right? And just that idea of the fuzz and static and a voice that is decaying out. I just go like, man, that would make a cool fuzz pedal. Which really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the actual sound, but whatever. It's a concept pedal. So I have an astronaut with a skull face and a blue visor, and his right eye lights up with the LED, and you spend the time and you build it, and then you say like, all right, and you plug it in, and you really hope it works. And man, oh man, I had it loud, and this thing just screamed, and it was like, yeah, this thing sounds awesome. So I was super stoked.
It was a major success.
It was a major success. There's another one for Jared. And
that was for Chris.
Okay, yeah, for Chris, who's not here.
He would have said that.
Pour some puns out for our homie Chris, who's not here.
Yeah.
And anyhow, so thank you to Mammoth Electronics. By the way, I'm still trying to get Jacob from Mammoth Electronics on the show and have him talk to our audience about the DIY kits and stuff. And anyways, super fun. If you haven't built your own pedal, do it. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's not going to work, and then you'll probably find. I mean, that is pretty bad if it doesn't work. But most of it's easily fixable. So somebody around you's got to be able to help you out. It's fine. It'll work out great. Just do it. Okay, so let's talk about the. Hang on a second. Hold on. What?
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
That's right. It's 4 on the floor, and Luis is going to share his 4 on the floor with us. Boom, go.
All right, so my 4, I got to start with the first one. It's like the first thing, even before my tuner, is my EP booster by Exotic Effects. I have a thing for exotic pedals. I know a lot of the guys that work down there. They're a great company. I have no affiliation with them. I like that. Customer service for me is like a big thing. Not that I've ever had a problem with them, but that's my first pedal. It just warms up my signal. So I always have that on. I've even actually considered maybe getting another one and having it at the end of the chain before it goes into the amp.
That's a cool idea.
Just to see if it would make it even warmer, if that's even possible. But that's the first one.
Now, let me ask you real quick. I mean, there's a lot of boosters out there. What about the EP kind of sold you?
First of all, it was one of the first like smaller. Everybody does them now, but like those really thin, smaller pedals.
Yeah, the minis. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so it's like, I mean, real estate is vital on my board, man. Because I live in LA again, so I take the metro a lot or the bus as much as I can to gigs. If you don't live in LA, parking and traffic is just horrendous. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. But I don't know. I've tried a few other ones, you know, like when I go to NAMM and stuff like that, or I get to work on a lot of people's stuff. But I don't know. I like it, man. It's sexy. That's it. I know that's
a totally fair statement. It is a great looking little pedal for sure. And it's one of the more reputable ones out there. So,
yeah.
All right. So what do you got for number 2?
Number 2, I got my SP compressor, also by Exotic. This one, I love the little switch in the front, the high, low, mid switch. Again, it's one of those smaller casings, so great for real estate on the board again. And this one, I used to play in kind of like a funky pop band. So that one always kind of came in handy when I would use my Strat, or I have an Echo Park guitar too that one sounds cool with. Yeah.
Those are nice.
So I'm able to kind of, just with the switch itself without moving the volume or the blend, just by flipping that switch, I'm always able to get like a good, nice compression sound. And again, it's sexy, dude. So.
For sure. Well, and yeah, the real estate thing, I think I am of the same opinion too. Is like, if I can get a utility pedal, and I would consider a comp or a boost almost, utility, comp, boost, tuner, those are utility style pedals. So, if you can get those down to a mini, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah. And then, I know like a lot of people use like, especially like the booster for like solos and things like that. I just always play like on volume 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then for solos, I'll just roll up. And for me, that just sounds much, much nicer. The other one that just has never left my board and always moves to the next board is my OCD, the full tone.
That's a great pedal.
Yeah, I just think it's versatile, and it makes any clean sound, like any tube amp just sound great. And again, kind of talking about that whole thing, like, if I know there's guys and girls and just people, like guitar players in general, that just can't play if they don't have their rig. But man, F that. Like, out here, if I can avoid taking my amp, I'm all for it. So I think I've gotten pretty good at being able to tweak tube amps. So as far as like picking my effects and things like that, I always kind of have that in the back of my head. Like, will this generally sound good with most? And most people have like a twin or a Marsh, your standards. So that OCD has always kind of just come in handy.
That's a great pedal, man. That's like one of those solid ones. I think you could probably count that and a tube screamer as, if you got either one of those, your money. You don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the next one, I've been really digging this new Ghost Echo by Earthquaker devices.
Yeah.
So even I've been noticed like at my gigs and stuff like that, I've been having it on. And it's like a reverb, but it has this like little weird nuances, just strange but subtle though. Mm-hmm. That are kind of been adding to my tone as of lately.
Well, there's an interesting knob on there called Dwell. So like,
yeah.
Is that what gives you that little extra ness?
Yeah, it's like this like quirky reverby, if you want to. I mean, I don't necessarily like reverb pedals.
Yeah.
Or just your straight up like delay pedal per se. And I mean, if you do, like, I like your, whatever. I'll use a Boss like a DD7 or a DD. Like, I don't have a problem with, I know there's a bunch of people out there that are like, oh my God, how dare you? You're like, you're not using the cheek. It's like, man, if it does the trick, it does,
Yeah.
So I like more kind of like quirky, unique little things, even if they're subtle. But I think that's kind of like.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you as far as like, it sounds like what you're describing, and I haven't actually tried out a Ghost Echo, but now I like super bad want to, because I like the how do I say it? Like the unknown presence that something that even just like having a vibe on like one or something like that can give you.
Yeah.
Just that extra sort of. It's not perfect. It just gives it a little bit of life. Almost, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing between, a standard echo or a tape echo. Like people love the tape echo.
Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, gun.
I'm gonna say it right. The difference between a tape echo is that has that extra bit of life, and this sounds really cool. I'm very interested in this now. I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah, I feel it just adds a little bit more personality to the tone. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
So.
Or as the Germans say, je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
It's French. It's cool. Okay, cool, man. Well, that is a solid lineup. I would play that board any day. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And everybody else, go out there. I'll put out the blog post for Luis's 4 on the Floor, and you can check out those pedals for yourself, as well as a little bit of a transcript from what we just went through. So be on the lookout for that in case you're driving and you're like, I don't know what pedals you're talking about. You'll be able to check them out.
Cool.
Yes. So here we go with the interview with Luis Munoz, the modern guitar tech out in Hollywood, California, specifically Hollywood, but in the Los Angeles area. Yeah. So, I mean, rock and roll central of the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about give me your definition of a guitar tech, first of all.
Definition for guitar tech is, I guess, one that kind of maintains guitars and can do like simple repair, where a luthier can actually build or maybe even modify a guitar or do more woodworking.
Yeah. That's fair. So someone's taking it from 0 to nothing, and a guitar tech might be taking it from something to different, more, or better.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
I'm going to steal that. Yes, I like
All
that.
right. Cool. And, when we were talking on the phone yesterday, just, kind of getting ready for the interview, one of the things that I was interested in sharing with the listeners was I want to hear your perception of how you basically got into this and why. And I'm specifically talking about the perception of guitar techs as you have encountered them, and how you maybe saw a different way into that.
Right on. Okay, so I moved out here. I'm originally from Texas. Moved out here to LA about 7 years ago. I had always tinkered on my own guitars. I didn't know anything. This was before the internet. I mean, I remember my sister coming back from college and having like this Toshiba satellite laptop that was like 3 inches thick. So it wasn't like this information was like readily available. So I remember like my dad bought me this cheap guitar. I saw some steel rod in there, started tweaking with it and messing around with it. Pretty much I ruined that guitar. So long story short, I always tinkered on my own stuff. Then I moved out here for music. Joined a few bands and everything, and I don't know. Quickly realized like LA, you would think, man, like this is the city of like music and musicians and a whole bunch of bands, and there's not many reputable, or I shouldn't say that, but there's efficient, I guess, is the word I'm looking for
Right.
for luthiers or guitar techs, I guess
Okay.
I should say, and maybe that's where it started for me.
So when
Where I
you're
was
saying
like-
efficient, I'm going to interpret a little bit here. So, the idea that
yes.
you might bring in a guitar and say, hey, cool, I feel like the neck's a little warped, or I need a refret job. And it's like, now it's 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks. They got somebody that's got a more expensive guitar or a name that came into the shop that they need to deal with, and you're really at the mercy of somebody who's got your guitar.
Yeah. Yes. That. And then the other thing, the last few years is, I think, and maybe you'll like this, Todd, but just presence, online presence. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist for even the guys that have been in town for 30 plus years,
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's nice to feel like you have a guy, and that's a harder thing to do, I think, in the guitar world these days, especially, Jared's mentioned many times the idea of, back in the good old days when we had mom and pop back in the good old days when we had mom and pop shops.
We did, man.
Yeah. The idea that you can trust something that is really, really important to you, that was probably really expensive, that may or may not have sentimental value, and that somebody else is going to get you and not necessarily make you feel stupid or not going to exploit your lack of knowledge. For beginning guitarists, that's a really intimidating thing.
Yeah. But I think it was that. I remember I had this I had a pink paisley that I just gotten, and I was trying to do it's that pink sparkly one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And oh man, that thing got me more auditions and gigs than I think my playing.
Yeah.
Because everybody loved that guitar, man. But I was trying to change the pickups. I got this like country gig thing. I was trying to change the pickups, and I took it to one of the guys that known around town. I mean, I just walked in, and I mean, there's like no eye contact, no nothing, and it was just super cold, And he's like kind of like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, well, this kind of sucks. Well, whatever. It is what it is, He's the best in town, and whatever. Left the guitar. No call, nothing. I had to call, see if it was done. It was done. When to go, like just cold from beginning to end.
Yeah. No relationship established.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just kind of like.
And there's no real way to do that if they are not really on the web, or you're not going down to the shop all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like, I don't like that, and it makes you dread even. I know my guitar needs a setup, but I got to find somebody else, But the other guy lives in Van Nuys, and LA is massive.
Yeah.
So that's like asking somebody to like you're going away, like to go over the hill, like to Van Nuys in North Hollywood. It's like, it's like no, especially on like the bus or train. It's like it's just not going to happen. So yeah, you're kind of at the helm of them, So that's where it started, and I think again me, being kind of like a younger guy. The whole social media stuff, I mean, that's where everybody hangs out nowadays, whether you like it or not. And
well, I think it's interesting that you can, I followed you, and it doesn't take long for there to gain a familiarity, even if you're just seeing a picture of somebody, or you're hearing you're reading a comment, or there's a video. That is establishing a relationship. Yes, it's over the internet, but you you start to form one, and you
do.
gain a familiarity. When we talked on the phone the first time yesterday, it was like, oh, hey, man. You know, it wasn't like this weird cold call. Like, here, can I give you my super expensive thing that means the world to me, and maybe you'll get back to me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. So, anyways, I could sense that from your online presence, and you know, in a couple of the videos, and so that was something that I really appreciated about your approach, and I know that, you know, you haven't been around for ages, and you may not have the you know, all of the accolades, but I do want to mention, everybody, that if you go to his website, modernguitartech.com, and check the client list, that's nothing to sneeze at. you got some heavies on there, man.
Yeah. And you know, that's the thing too. It's like, I mean, this goes for anything, for anybody. Like, what I've learned so far in life is, if you love something, this is gonna sound really cheesy, but just do it. And somehow, like, don't worry about the hows and the whens and the what ifs. Like, just do it, and it'll somehow work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but
I want to support you on that by reiterating that by saying, you know, I do what I love to do for a living.
Yeah.
And I build pickups and stuff, guitar pickups.
Yeah.
And on Sunday night, I am thinking about Monday morning, and I get excited about what I'm going to do. And I get and I look forward to waking up in the morning, getting the coffee going, and organizing what I'm going to do, mapping out the day, because I love doing it. It's I enjoy Monday sometimes more than I enjoy Friday, because Friday it's like, oh man, what am I going to have to go
Unless
do?
it's pizza night.
Well, yeah, right. What am I going to get drug out of my shop to do, because I want to be in my shop and do what I love doing. And, you know, when it comes to customers as well, with the engaging the customers, it being in the position of having customers and also having a customer service, I think I'm going to...
So you're saying you have customers.
I do. And I think I'm going to really listen to what you have to say about this, because any little type of, you know, check-in or any little email or text to a customer just means the world to that customer, because then, you know, they kind of know what's happening, or it's just, to some people, it's everything. And it can be a pivot point if they want to do business with you again, is how the first transaction went and how
100%.
Communicative you were. So I'm pretty excited about this. So
So
Jared is very excited.
Swing.
I am.
He's flushed. His face is flushed. He's sweating a little bit.
It's not because of the pizza.
So, Louise, let me ask you.
Yes.
I think that there's, in the definition part that we talked about a little bit before, when we say guitar tech, I think most of us think of the guy who's, you know, the older dude in the cargo shorts with the shaggy hair and the you know, 20-year-old concert shirt that's in charge of all the guitars standing off stage, who's been riding a bus all their life. I mean, that's the first thing you think of, at least first thing I think of.
Yeah.
Now, when we started talking, this was a point that I really wanted to gain some definition on, because the difference between that and maybe what you are doing or what you have done, there is one. And I just wanted to kind of touch on that. So explain how you go about handling the, I guess, the road issue, or how you define yourself, you know, between that and like your shop, and where that importance lies.
I've done the road thing. You know, I've toured for a few bands and artists, and it's fun. And I myself I've been on tour. It's for some people. It's it's cool that it's there, but I don't necessarily like it. If I had a choice and I'd rather do what I'm doing right now, which is pretty much kind of like I work in the Los Angeles area for people around here,
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. I am a luthier as well, so I can build. I have, but even that, it's kind of like
it's time consuming.
I still prefer to. Go ahead.
It is time consuming to do all that.
It is. Yeah.
I have a friend
So
that
it's
lives
like-
down the road that builds guitars. It's very time consuming.
Yeah, it's like, and it's messy and it's expensive out here. So that's always going to be there for me, and the touring stuff. Like maybe when I get older, I'll build more. But right now, I really, really, really like the way I'm doing it, and the way I run my shop is it's pretty much kind of like I love tattoos as well. So my tattoo artist is like. Maybe that's where it started, actually, now that I think about it. But, this idea of just you make an appointment, we chat a bit, I work on your guitar, I get as much information and a lot of stuff, too, that if I can do it right then and there, like a setup or a string change, like something simple, I'll just do.
Yeah.
Get you in and out. And then if you need tweaks like the next day or a week from now, you come by and I do that, But I'd prefer to do that than keep your guitar for like a week or 2 weeks just sitting there. Like bigger stuff like refrets and things like that, then it is what it is. But yeah, so that's how I kind of run it. But I will say, though, I learned a lot of this stuff, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Todd, but I did work for a lot of luthiers out here, and that's where I learned a lot of this stuff. But I also saw how they ran their shops and other things, and I remember telling myself, like, that's not cool. Like, I would never do that. And this whole idea of, like, well, someday I'll have my shop, or, when I have my shop, I'll run things differently. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, well, why don't you just do it and see if it's either going to work or it's not.
Right. That's a solid approach. A lot of people get stuck right there. They're like, well, I don't think I can. Well,
they doubt themselves.
Try it.
Never happens.
Do it.
Yeah. And it was that too, anyone that's listening out there that's like thinking about doing something, just do it, And as far as like the clientele stuff goes, like I've done the Facebook ads, I've done the Instagram ads, I've done physical flyers. I've gone to shows. And the one thing that really, really keeps bringing me people is just do the work. Be really good and passionate about what you're doing. And then people are stoked, man. Like when you give them like a good experience, like they will send you more people. And like all the higher end, the bigger names and stuff like that, they all came from. Everybody knows somebody, and that's still true. Like it's worked so far, and it's awesome,
So when people come to you and they're asking for you to work on their guitar, what are some of the more common things that you're getting, and what overall experience do you want people to be leaving with you?
It's going to sound cheesy, but I just want you to leave happy with a smile on your face, And if you don't like something, just tell me. Like, I don't want there to be like this weird, and I always tell like my clients that like, come in and, could this go a little higher? Like the action is the distance between the fret and the strings, or a little lower, like don't be timid, like ask me if it can, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I think most people, when they do go get their guitar worked on, that it's sort of like, well, they obviously said it a certain way, so maybe I shouldn't ask, or I might look stupid if I ask for that. It's like, I like that you are approaching things from a very open standpoint. I think that comes through on the material that you have online, and that you should ask questions. It's your gear.
Yeah.
You get it the way you want it. I want to make clear, we're not just talking about like how people work with you. This is how people should approach anybody that's working on their guitar, and what expectations should be. And if you are somebody out there who is a guitar tech, such as Luis is, these are things to keep in mind too, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not
so
shaking my finger at anybody. I just want to, I think it's easy to forget those things, and I want to make sure that we do.
Yeah. So if something doesn't feel right or doesn't sound right, just and there's a way, like don't be rude, but just ask.
Yeah. What are some of the more interesting been able to work on?
Late last year, I got to work on this 9-string.
Oh wow! That sounds like a headache.
It was, and it's funny because the guy messaged me, and he's like, I have this 9-string, and I stereotyped, and I was like, oh cool, like shredder metal guy or whatever. And in the email he like mentioned that he's taken it to other shops around town, and that nobody wanted to take it on. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like I love stuff like that. I'll try it.
You want to see what makes it tick.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll come by, So he came by, and he took out this guitar, and it's like he's actually this jazz guy. His name is Kurt Zuhl. And he has it tuned in thirds, and it's not what you would think as far as like a 9-string goes, but it had all these problems. Like one of the truss rods was broken. It had 2 truss rods. The truss rod adjustments were underneath the pickup, so
oh boy,
the only way to adjust them, I had to take that neck pickup off. Yeah. Oh, dude, it was like. And then I had to refret it, and then I had to make like this radius.
You had to refret a 9-string.
Yeah,
oh my
that's a lot of fret wire, man.
Yeah, but it had all these issues, and so anyways, I remember like one of the nights. I mean, it took almost 3 weeks to finish this thing, like not just straight through, but like a few hours here and there and whatnot, because he wanted this tuning that he came up with or whatever. And I was like, well, maybe I can find it. So I remember like I Googled it, and the Wikipedia came up for 9-string guitars. And the first picture that pops up is him with this guitar that I'm working on.
So everybody run out and Google that right now. And
that's the guy.
And that's the guy. Yeah. And if not the pioneer, and like this, it was a prototype guitar built in Japan, like in the 80s. So this is way before, like.
Did you know that before you got the guitar? Did you know this before you got?
I knew it was older, but I didn't know the whole backstory.
Right.
So then I felt a little more comfortable, and then I called him, and I was like, okay, cool. So now I understand why this was made this way and designed this way. It's a prototype. And I asked him for like permission to replace one of the truss rods. It was just an insane amount of work. And then you get married to it, it almost becomes an obsession. I remember like my girlfriend would call me and it's like, what time are you coming home? I was like an hour, and then 3 hours later, where are you? Just one more thing. I just need to glue this one inlay, it's like, I love what I do. It's this beautiful obsession. That's probably one of the most interesting things. And then for him to come and pick it up, just set it up, like I do this thing where like I'll like when someone's picking it up, like I'll put the guitar like on a guitar stand, make sure it's like spotless and shiny and plugged into an amp and it's tuned and it's ready to go for someone to come in and just try it out, as opposed to like, oh yeah, here, let me grab your guitar, and
I think it's under these 4 cases over here in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he came in and just like seeing that, like it's like seeing a child, like his big smile, and then him picking it up and then just trying it out and then just hearing somebody play, and it was cool, it's just like he picked it up, and I like that. I like that.
That's interesting. So Luis, when you're working on other people's guitars, I think one of the things that regular Joe guitar players like me and Jared and many others out there, we're fascinated with, well, what do what do people who are in the industry, if you want to call them rock stars or whatever, guitar gods, whatever you want to call them, what do they want? What do they do? What is their gear like? I mean, it's obvious that people want that because the Rig Rundown show is just insanely popular, and it's a great show to watch. It lets you in on what people who are out there playing every day, the stars out there, what do they do? So I'd like to know from your standpoint, like, well, what are some of those things?
I work with a producer in town, and through him, I've been able to work on a lot of cool people stuff, including Lady Gaga, who is a sweetheart. Mm-hmm. Because she was complaining that she was getting a little too much buzz from like the higher registers, but it's her playing, But how the hell are you going to tell Lady Gaga, hey, it's your playing?
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
I think you just did.
Yeah. So, and it's how you say it again. It's just being nice and understanding that no one's born with this information. It's just how you explain it to people.
Well, Lady Gaga's born with it. Hey. So, what are you got any of the weirder requests? Like,
I just worked on Alyssa. She plays in a band called Naked and Famous.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She likes the neck pickup reversed.
Oh, okay. So she likes the polarity reversed.
Yeah.
For those listening, that means it's not taking the whole pickup and turning it around. It's reversing the polarity, so you get that Peter Green sound, the out of phase sound.
Yeah.
So
but I
describe So if I don't, what is that sound? Explain a little bit more what that is, because this is an interesting point. You just dropped two things that reverse pickup, out of phase, and Peter Green. Those are things that get talked about a lot, but don't get a lot of definition. So let's just talk about that real quick.
I mean, to me, it sounds real nasally.
Right.
Thin, not sexy, but
like it's wrong, right?
Yeah, but it's especially for like a neck pickup, but that's just her jam. So it's like, I don't know what her rig rundown is per se. I think I told Todd this. I might actually be going on tour with them this summer, so I'll find out. Yeah, I don't know what amp she's using or any of that stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other quirky stuff do I get? Was it about a year ago? A guy brought me a 335 from like the 70s, a stereo guitar, and I guess he took it to a shop. Starts with a Guitar Center,
right?
And he was complaining that one of the pickups wasn't working. And I mean, they gutted the thing, they took out all wiring, and they just couldn't figure it out.
Didn't have a stereo jack.
So it was a stereo jack. But I told him, I was like, dude, I mean, at this point, like, I'm just gonna have to rewire the whole thing, man. I'm sorry.
Wow. Luis, you probably get an awful lot of questions, and I know that you have taken steps in your own personal content on on your social channels to share a few things for, hey, here's an easy way to do this, or here's maybe the correct way to do that. For us listening, how about giving us about maybe 3 tips that you can do for yourself to ensure that your guitar has great playability?
Okay, so 3 things that people can do. First one for me, I think the big one is change your strings regularly. Like, it's pack of strings nowadays is so cheap, like $5 or $6. I'm not a fan of like the changing one string at a time, because you might mess up the neck or something like that. Just take them all off, clean your fretboard. You don't have to use lemon oil all the time. Just wipe it down and then restring your guitar.
Wipe it down with?
Actually, here's a cool tip. I use mineral spirits. You can get it like at Home Depot or stuff like that. It's a degreaser, but it's a lot lighter than like naphtha or what's the other one? the nail polish remover. I can't. The words are not coming to me.
So basically, to keep the skin oil from building up.
Yeah. So it's safe for all finishes. Second thing I would say is lube like all the parts, and you can use chapstick. I know like Planet Waves or there's other like nut lube, and it's like $10 or something like that. Just buy like a chapstick and just put that wherever like the string is making contact with the hardware.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you about. Like when you said lube all the parts, I was like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, no. So, okay, so anywhere where there's friction.
Exactly. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. Like the nut and the bridge point, just like a little dab.
Yeah, with like a little toothpick or something.
Yeah. Exactly. And then the other thing is, if I know you don't play it, you wouldn't play it as often, but keep the instrument in a case. I know people like having them like on wall hangers, and I do as well,
Mm-hmm.
But just understand that climate and stuff like that will affect it a lot faster than if you had it in a case, especially if it's an acoustic.
Yeah, I mean that's a big one, and anybody that lives east of California knows that you're going to deal with humidity issues. Or, I mean, I lived at the beach for many years, and if you have any kind of humidity issues there, whether you got salt air, whether you have the hot to cold, your humidity where we are will drop down to like 29% in the winter sometimes, and then we're up at 60% or much higher even in the house, and that can wreak havoc on your stuff. So that's good tips.
Funny story. Not Jessica Alba, Michelle Rodriguez, Fast and the Furious girl. I work on her guitars, and I remember the first time she brought me her guitar, because she has a house by Venice.
For those
Venice
who
Beach.
are listening, Venice is a beach town in LA.
She came by, and I mean the whole, like every piece of hardware on that thing I had to replace because it was so oxidized. I was like, geez, like throw this in the ocean? But yeah, so just again, like I said, I know, it's nice to just be able to pick up your guitar and play it. So yeah.
Cool. I appreciate you sharing out sort of, a little bit about daily life of guitar tech, and sharing what that actually means to you. I know that there are, I'm sure, others that we will run into, and others that we will interview that are in similar situations that we'll get a little bit of different perspective on. It's a very personal thing. It's a very subjective thing, how you go about that type of business and whom you're doing it for and where you're doing it. So it was just interesting to hear that, how you go about doing that. So if anybody isn't familiar, I would assume actually that's probably most people, just because it's a great big world out there. And even though social provides us a lot of ways into getting to know somebody or getting exposure to somebody, there's, we're constantly running into people every day that can give us some insight or some ways of understanding what we do better. And I would encourage you to do that with Luis at Modern Guitar Tech. Would you want to just share real quick where your some of your handles for us?
Yeah, just the big one is Modern Guitar Tech across all the socials. Just Google that. And I don't use Twitter, not a fan of Twitter, but Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. But I mean, if anybody out there like has a question, I actually enjoy it. Like, I actually like opening up my Instagram and seeing like, oh, I have a message in my inbox. I have this kid from Mexico who I built this relationship with, and this was about a year ago. He just like started asking me questions like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I tried my best, to answer. And it's cool. Like now I follow him and I see him like working on guitars, and I guess like he's kind of becoming like the dude in his little town in Mexico.
That's cool.
And it's just like, and if he has a question, like I'll try my best to answer. And there's this other kid from Iran that messaged me the other day. Man, like that's a powerful thing, people.
Sure is. Totally. I mean, we talk about that all the time, but same thing where it's like it's just out of the blue. You're like, wow, I can't believe my voice reached all the way across the world and hit you in a way that that is meaningful in some way, shape, or form. And those of us who are doing that and sharing our voice, if you are doing it in a public way or just you're just a person and you're out there on the internet, it's like just be open and share with each other. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate that. We're gonna head on to our Would You Rather segment, and then we're gonna say see you later. So with that, Jared.
All right.
Wait, aren't you gonna like bring us in like with some kind of interesting intro? Now I put you on the spot. Now you got to do an interesting intro. How about I do an old timey one like Would You Rather?
I want to do it.
Okay, you do it.
All right. So, okay, man. You're at your.
Wait, you didn't do it.
Would you rather?
Going for the echo.
That.
Going for the echo.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So you're sitting at home in your basement and you've got your guitar or your garage or wherever you play and it's plugged in and the devil walks in, okay, and he says, listen.
Hell?
That's right. What the hell is correct? He walks in and he says, I'm Lucifer and I'm giving
I
you
think
a
you'd
choice.
recognize probably.
Right. Well,
I mean,
he's all red and he's got the horns and he's got the tail. He's got a pitchfork and stuff.
Yeah.
And he points at you and he says, listen, man, I'm going to still let you play guitar for the rest of your life. However, you can either have...
Listen, I'm gonna take you to hell if you don't take one of these two amazing, awesome things.
so how about we dial that back a little bit?
Okay, guys.
Wait, you got to do the thing.
Would you rather?
Are you? We do a different thing.
Would you rather?
There you go. Now we're talking.
Okay, guys. For the rest of your life, you have two choices. You could either have a Carina Flying V or a Carina Explorer, but it has to be one or the other, and you're gonna have to play that for the rest of your life. You don't get another guitar. That's it. It's
and you
either
had to
one
cash
or the
in
other.
all of your guitars.
All your other guitars are gone. You either have to
one
have
or the other.
That's it.
I mean, that's not a bad problem to have. To be honest, I mean, those are pretty sweet guitars.
I think it depends what your personality is, because it could be a bad thing if you're stuck with only one for the rest of your life.
Okay,
That's an easy one, man.
I know what you're gonna say. I know what he's gonna say. Okay, do it.
So you said either an Explorer or a Flying V, right? That's what it comes down to.
Specifically,
Right.
the Carina model, the Carina Wood model.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for the rest of your life, listen, you're gonna get old. You're not gonna be able to stand up. Have you ever played a Flying V sitting down? Man, F that. Like I will,
Right.
I will do the Explorer all day. Even working on them, like anytime I get a customer that brings me like a Flying V, it's always like so cumbersome. Like,
Right. Thank you for bringing this
Yeah,
in
they
today.
they look cool as hell though, man.
Yeah.
They do.
All right, Jared, what are you doing?
I'm doing the Explorer hands down. I own an Explorer, so I know what it feels like. And that's kind of a guitar you can sag down a little bit too. You could swing it
Yeah.
low. You know what I mean? But I love the feel of the Explorer. And I've had Flying V's, and I've felt those, and I've played those. But I'm an Explorer fan. I thought I would never be a fan of those crazy shaped guitars. But the Explorer, I really like how it feels. So I would gladly be stuck with that guitar.
You know what does suck about the Explorers though?
What?
The case. The case.
Oh, yeah, the cases are huge. But they're not that much better for the V's either.
Yeah.
You can live in them things, man. You
Yeah.
can store a lot of sheet music in them.
I have an Explorer at home, and I too have also had V's, I'm going with the V, man.
Hey.
Just simply because
Alright.
the Carina V especially is just gold hardware, white pick. It's like it's just one of those things. Like you strap it on, it's like I am the coolest person on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, with both of those, actually specifically because specifically because they are Carina, you can play modern stuff on them and it makes sense, and you can play old stuff on it and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not bound to like a specific aesthetic. Those were all built in the late 50s. So
Correct me if I'm wrong. Albert King played a V, didn't he?
Yes, specifically the Carina. I'm fairly certain. Well, at least that was one of his actual guitar.
Maybe he was
Flying Vs.
actually stuck with one of them for the rest
His
of
was
his
called
life.
the Lucy's. He called them Lucy.
Lucy's, right?
Yeah, but he had a couple of different Lucy's. But yeah, man. I mean, there's some sweet looking V's out there, and Explorers. I love talking about guitars. I could do this for hours.
Me
but
too.
At some point, we got to call it quits, and that point is now. So, everybody who is listening, thank you so much. We truly, truly appreciate your subscription, your time that you take to listen to us babble on and share in the passion that we have for guitars and guitar gear. And we want to say thank you to Luis Munoz, the modern guitar tech, for joining
Yes,
us
sir.
on this episode. And make sure you go and check him out and get to know him a little bit. Make sure that you see us out there as well. Send us notes and stuff, and subscribe. That one was different.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit us at our website at theguitarknobs.com for episodes, news, and guest profiles. You can get all social with us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/guitarknobs. Give us a tweet at guitar_knobs. And check out our gallery on Instagram at guitarknobs.